Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Leslie Watkins. So I've got some zinnias that I just picked. I have to apologize in advance because the lawn mowers just got here and I have a feeling they're going to get a little bit noisy. So if you can hear anything in the background, that's what you're hearing. But I wanted to do a simple watercolor. I just want to show you how you can get started very easily with just 3 watercolors and do a beautiful, happy little picture of something as simple as a bouquet of zinnias. So let's get started. I also want to come on and say hi because I now have this set up so that we can do a little more personal presentation. But here are the zinnias, okay, and I've got this screen behind me because my studio is in utter chaos as I'm getting ready for my pop-up shop, and I'm just trying out some different things. So if you haven't heard, I am going to have a pop-up shop in town where I live, Norfolk, Connecticut, and I have the shop for an entire month. And it's going to be all about watercolor, paper crafting, and my oil painting. So I have an exhibit of my paintings up as well. And there's going to be classes and events and demonstrations and all sorts of things going on. So if you're somebody who lives within 50-mile radius of the northwest corner of Connecticut, I sure hope that you'll come by and say hi. And if you are a paper crafter or a scrapbooker, please tell your friends, come in. I've got all sorts of really great events lined up. You're going to love it. And you'll be able to go to my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com, and I will be posting weekly schedules there so that you can see what's coming up the following week. So let's get busy painting. I'm going to grab my watercolors. So I'm just using red, yellow, and blue. You can see them here, and I just have a simple ceramic tray that I'm using as my palette. And then I have my my sketchbook here. So if you've been watching regularly, you may have seen the video when I showed you how to make a watercolor sketchbook. And actually, we may be doing some sketchbook work at the pop-up shop as well. So if that's something you'd like to learn, stay tuned because we may have more of that. So I'm just grabbing a brush, and I don't know what happened to my other brush, but this will be fine. And actually, now that I think about it, let's do something in the sketchbook. We haven't done something in here for a while. So let me get to a page that is this time of year. And actually, so here is the Rigucci clematis, and that's actually blooming right now, as well are the helianthus, which you saw me paint last time. So let's see, it's hard to pick. I think we'll do something down in the opposite corner of the sketchbook. So let me rearrange my desktop a little bit. This is a kind of impromptu watercolor sketch, and I'm just turning my flowers around so that they catch the light nicely. And I love this great big kind of coral colored one, so beautiful. All right, that looks pretty good, and I think maybe my palette has to be over here so I can reach it better. All right, I think we're in business. And this time I'm just going to do a very quick pencil sketch. Let me make sure that I'm on the screen here so you can see. So I'm going to be working down here, and I will zoom in a little bit later as I get further along with the picture so that you can see better. So I'm going to begin with my largest flower, which is that beautiful coral colored one, and I just want to get the perspective on the center. So the zinnias have this, well, not all of them, but at least this coral one has a big fat button in the center of it, and then it has these wonderful tiny flowers that are growing out of that center, which is going to turn to seed and provide me with next year's seeds. And then the next thing I want to do is just make sure that I get these petals pointing in the right direction. So if you think of the shape of the flower like a clock face, we've got our 1 o'clocks, or 3 o'clocks, or 9 o'clocks, and so forth. I just want to check to make sure that we're broadcasting. Or 3 o'clock. I just want to check to make. And yes, that looks good. And I've got Cheryl and Charlotte are here already. Awesome. Nice to see you ladies. Thank you for tuning in. I've got a lot going on. I've been hanging the show and getting supplies for the opening reception, and I've been just planning the various events and all the different materials and supplies I'm going to need. So lots and lots of busy work. So I'm not going to keep you too long today because I have to get over there and make another delivery. And also I'm getting some extra lights because as you may know, the lighting is not so good over there right now, so I need more of the spotlights. Alright, so there's the pretty little primrose yellow one, and I love that color yellow. I think, can you see a little? No, I guess you can't see it. I'll show you I'll take a picture, or I'll bring the bouquet into the camera so that if you'd like to take a screenshot, you'll be able to do that, and then you can follow along at home. And then over here is my orange one. Just like that. So just a nice little assortment of colors. I've got 3 different flowers. There is another one in the back, but I'm not going to include that one, I don't think, although I could change my mind. So to begin, I'm just going to take a very light wash of each of those colors. So I'll start with a very pale yellow. So I'm just moistening my paints a little bit. In fact, I'm going to get my spritzer and give them a good okay. So this is a very dilute mixture, just a very pale wash of yellow. I'm just moving that around the area of the yellow flower. And actually, since all of these flowers have a kind of a yellow base tone, I can go ahead and use the same color as my underpainting for each of these flowers. All right, so that's it. Just a quick wash, just to begin to moisten the paper a little bit. I don't want the paper to be too wet because I just want to treat this as a nature study, not as a, for instance, a loose painting where I would have wet and wet. This is what I would call sketching with your brush. So when you take your sketchbook with you, or if you're doing as I am, sitting at home in your studio or your kitchen table, whatever the case may be, if you're just wanting to do a little bit of practice your drawing, your color mixing, and capture a quick impression of the subject, this is a great way to do that. And don't get too worried about your composition and painting a masterpiece. Okay, it's about practice, because that's what, you know, everybody wants to be able to start painting right away, and a lot of times you can get frustrated because maybe your drawing isn't as advanced as you'd like it to be, or you haven't spent a lot of time working with your medium of choice. It all boils down to practice. It's just like playing the piano. You know what they say, practice, practice, practice. So if you have a nice sketchbook and you have a little paint box or a few colors, that's all you need to get going. You could even get started with just pencil and paper. And I think everybody has a number 2 pencil somewhere. That'll work just fine. So as I continue working on my flowers, I'm paying attention to the direction of the petals. I'm kind of tightening up my drawing to make it a little more accurate. Paying attention to light and shade, and I'm also seeing how the different color mixtures will affect the areas around them, because what you paint in one area makes another area of your picture look a little bit different. So close observation. Now, I can see on this little yellow flower in the foreground here that it's brighter in the center where the stamens are, so I can increase the color a little bit there. And I also want to get more of this orange quality on this one that's sort of underneath. Just a few little touches, and I can soften those edges. Now, some of this flower is in shadow because it's tucked under the flower that is above it and beside it. So I can start to indicate that a little bit. And it also has those beautiful yellow stamens in the center. Okay. Am I getting out of camera here? Probably. It's, you know, it's all the different things. Sorry if you're just seeing the side of my head. I can't do everything at once, but I try to learn from from each video so I can get a little bit better each time I go live. Right, so now what I'm doing is I'm taking a darker mixture and I'm just using the tip of my brush and getting some of these places where the petals overlap. Indicate a little bit of that. Always drawing. And when you work with more of a dry brush technique, meaning a lot less water on the brush and on the paper, if you use very tiny strokes the way I am, you can continue to refine your drawing as you go, so you can make any little changes and corrections that you may think necessary. And I'm going to go back to my yellow flower and select some of these petals. And the shadow areas in the yellow flower are sort of a cool neutral. So I can use a little mixture to get into these shadows. Keeping it very light because it is a very pale flower, so I want to make sure that my values don't get too dark. And Kit's here. Hi, Kit. I need some coffee. Well, what's everybody saying? Let me see. Oh, and there's Teresa. Teresa wants me to zoom in. I am going to zoom in a minute, Teresa. Okay. Yeah, the yellow underpainting kit is something I do quite a bit of, especially with florals. I mean, obviously not with a blue or a violet flower, but anything that's in the yellow, red, and orange range. Okay, all right, everybody's asking for zoom, so let's zoom in. I'm going to move this over a little bit. Okay, there we go. And so that's what I've got so far. So just a quick study, not you know, not something that you have to prepare for in advance. Just pick up your brushes, grab a piece of paper, and if you have some flowers handy. If you don't have any flowers, check your refrigerator. Maybe there's something in there that you could paint. Pull out a head of broccoli, pretend it's a tree, and that's excellent practice. Eggs. Practice your shading on an egg. Now the center of my coral flower here is a little bit darker, so I want to get that started. I want to keep the yellow around the edges. And these, like many of these petals, in these daisy-shaped flowers, if you look closely, you will see that they have some pleats, some little ridges that are so pretty, and it gives you a chance to just add that detail to your picture. So I'm just using my brush, the shape of my brush basically, to create that effect. A little bit darker under here. Okay, so I've been careful to kind of work all over the picture at once, just to get an idea of how things are developing. Now what I need to do is to make these flowers a little more distinctive from one another. So my coral flower has a lot more of this kind of a hue in it. The paper's nice and damp, and I can use that to my advantage because it's going to help me to get these very nice transitions just by softening those mixtures so one color blends nicely into the other. Let's go to my orange flower. Mixing up some more orange. I'm sorry about the weed whacker. I don't know if you all can hear that. But I wasn't expecting them today. I forgot that tomorrow is the 4th of July, so obviously they're taking the day off, and they want to make sure that they get to everybody beforehand. So, excuse me, I do appreciate their being here. Now at this point, I need to get some darks in there. So I'm going to mix up a stronger, sorry, talking too much. I'm going to mix up a strong mixture of my red and my yellow. If you have any questions, go ahead and here's Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Oh my goodness, 110 degrees there today. I'm so sorry. Obviously you have air conditioning. It's warm here too, but nothing like that. We've had a lot of wildlife here lately, feasting on those berries out front. Excuse me. And I noticed that one of the branches was broken on my little amelanchier in the front yard, and only the bear could have done that. So he must have gotten a little too rough with those branches. So we were out there this morning trimming that. And then we've got a deer that's been coming around, and I caught him eating my hostas, so he got chased away. He was beautiful to look at, just gorgeous, but I really don't want to be feeding the deer and all his friends in my gardens. There's plenty of woods around here and fields. Okay, so now this area through here is all in shadow, and I want to use a kind of a neutral tone to sort of pull that together. So I'm just going to go all under here. Wherever that cast shadow is. Pull all that together. All right, so that's coming along pretty nicely. At this stage, it just needs a little more color. Not all over, just here and there. I want this to read as an orange zinnia. And I also want to get some of those ruffles on these petals. And when the picture is completely dry, I can come back and add some glazes right over the dry painting with some thin washes of color, and that will help to increase the color. So that's one of the wonderful things about watercolor as opposed to oil painting. You can, of course, add glazes in your oil painting as well, but you have to wait. The watercolor, it's a much shorter wait time. And let me see. Yeah, that's too wet for me to do that right now. I can feel that the paper's fairly damp at the moment, so I'm not going to push my luck. Just getting the shapes of some of these petals. Okay, so Charlotte says 101 degrees in Texas, and she's got a bunny outside her flower bed. I saw a bunny out here the other day. Oh, it's a baby. Aw, Charlotte has a new rabbit friend. Well, I'll tell you what, the tall man is not going to be happy when he hears me talking about all the deer and the bear and the rabbits, because he is very protective of his plants, and he's not as tolerant as I am when it comes to the wildlife here. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him. I mean, it's a lot of work and expense to maintain a nice garden, and it could just take one quick deer visit can put an end to all your efforts. So I understand. I do understand, but I also feel like, you know, that's the reason why I like living here, is because of the wildlife. It's beautiful here, and it's always fun to catch a sight of one of the animals, and nice to have them right here. So I guess we have to find a balance, as with most things. All right, so now I've pretty well established my middle tones. I'm mixing up a little bit of my red and my blue to get a violet, and I'm just going to see what that does for me in here, and that's working nicely. So there are some places underneath the stamens where it is quite dark in the center of this flower here, and even in between a couple of these petals. So I can use that to good effect. Okay, so you see what happens as I begin to build up my values, and by that what I'm talking about are my lights and my darks. So just by adding a little bit of light violet, it's not even a dark violet, it's just a very pale violet, it helps to add a whole other level of dimension to the subject. And also, having that added blue is going to help to make the orange read as more orange, because these are complementary colors. So you want to have a nice balance of your colors so that you can create a kind of a harmony. Okay, so I think you can see what happens. It just kind of changes everything. But I want to use it sparingly, and I want to be very careful about where I put it. And if you are one of my watercolor students, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're a member of the Watercolor Card Club, I go into this in great depth, and we talk about this all the time. And if that sounds like something you're curious about, you'd like to learn more about it, please go to my website at dandelioncottage.com and look up the Watercolor Card Club, and you'll find a lot more information there, and how you can join, and you'd be welcome. So I think I'm just about done here. I'm going to start thinking about what I'm bringing over to the pop-up shop this afternoon, and start loading up the car. So I'm going to stop in just a second. I just want to get a really nice, rich, deep yellow for those stamens on the big flower. So I'm just getting some strong paint for this. Get that in a circle around the center. Get that started. The same in here. And a little bit here. Okay, now I may add some leaves just to balance the picture out, but for now I think that's enough information for you to get started. Talked about a lot of things today. Talked about the yellow underpainting, very, very pale. We talked about building up the form slowly with pale washes of color, using the brush as you would a pencil for sketching, pulling the shadows all together, adding complementary colors to help make the color harmony sing, and especially paying attention to your values. So starting from light, moving to dark, and just gradually building that up and being careful. So for instance, in the pale flower, you're not going to be able to go as dark as you would in one of these darker colored flowers. So that's a lot of information in a very short time. And again, if that sounds interesting to you and you'd like to learn more about the Watercolor Card Club, I'd love to have you join us. You get a card kit in the mail. You get a video tutorial. There is a live Zoom where we look at everybody's pictures and do a critique and a question and answer. So it's really quite comprehensive. So check that out. I'm going to go get busy at the pop-up space. Remember, if you're in the area, please come by. I'd love to see you there. And the opening is Friday night. I think that's all for now. Stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I will see you next time.